You're on mute.
Thank you. Members, welcome to Rochford District Council's remote council meeting of the 16th of February 2021, and a warm welcome especially to anybody watching this via live stream. Members, I shall take item 1 on the agenda, apologies for absence. We have not received any apologies in the office. Do you know of any others, members? No?
Councillor Mrs Mason is indicating.
Councillor Mrs Mason?
Thank you, Mr Chairman. Councillor Hookway is likely to be delayed, but he will be joining us.
Thank you for letting us know, Councillor Mrs Mason. I shall take item 2 of the agenda, minutes of the meeting held on the 15th of December 2020. Members, are you happy for me to sign in due course the minutes of the council held on the 15th of December? I will assume agreement unless anyone clicks on the raise hand icon. That is agreed, members. Thank you. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest to be noted, members?
No.
None indicated. Thank you, members. Right, I shall now go to agenda item 4, which is the medium-term financial strategy 2021 to 22 and to 2025-26. The leader of the council, Councillor Wootton, will introduce the council's budget and will then hand over to portfolio holder for financial services, Councillor Simon Smith, to present the report to members. The portfolio holder for financial services, Councillor Smith, will then present the report and move the recommendations. Councillor Wootton.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, members. The meeting tonight is one of the most important in the municipal year. It is vital that we have a robust and sustainable financial plan for our future in order to continue to deliver the many important services the council provides for residents and businesses across the district. Before I hand over to Councillor Simon Smith to present the report in more detail, I would just like to say a few words. Quite apart from our legal obligations, it is our duty as all councillors across the chamber, not just the Conservative administration, but to ensure we represent our residents in a fiscally responsible manner. We recognise the financial challenges we all face as an authority. This last year, although challenging in so many ways, has proved what we can achieve as a council when we work together. Officers and members have quickly adapted to new mobile and flexible ways of working to maintain our key services. Not everything has worked immediately or perfectly, but I think we can be proud of what we have achieved in such a short space of time. This work will continue over the next year as we progress our Connect transformational programme. We've also rolled out extra support for residents and businesses at pace to ensure that they have been supported through this most difficult time. Whilst not wishing to steal Councillor Smith's thunder, in particular, I would like to draw members' attention to the great work done to support businesses within the Rochford district through paying out well over £20 million of grants for around 2,000 local businesses during the last year. This is in addition to the rollout of extended business rates relief for ratepayers in the retail, leisure and hospitality sectors. This has provided a vital lifeline to support the local economy during the pandemic. Our Reopening High Streets Fund, Business Adaptation Fund, have already supported many businesses to open their doors in a safe and COVID secure way when permitted to do so by central government. And tonight, we are announcing further additional local support to invest in infrastructure that will encourage more people back to our urban centres. Whilst that is all very commendable, my heart goes out to the torrid time many businesses are having and the adverse economic impact that is having in our district through this dreadful pandemic. No words are adequate enough to express how we all feel for you. We are all longing for a time when things can get back to life as once we knew it. Members will also be aware that we're able to bring forward our asset delivery programme more quickly than originally we envisaged, including the development of a brand new community centre in the heart of Rayleigh. This will ensure its future financial sustainability in a way that the Mill Hall has not been able to achieve, and will contribute to regenerating the local area as well as attracting many more groups within our community. Yes, I accept that this is controversial, and I understand the emotional or nostalgic feelings towards the current hall, but I urge members and residents to consider the bigger picture of the asset delivery programme across the Rochford district. If we are to be a visionary council, we have to look forward and not back. At a modest capital cost, the asset programme alone will produce cost benefits of at least £250,000 per annum, or put another way, equivalent in real terms of a saving of nearly 4% in council tax alone each year, which is paid by our residents. Additionally, there are a wealth of economic community and improved working environment in brand new purpose-built offices for our hard-working staff. The work the council achieves is underpinned by sound strategic financial planning and robust financial management, which our administration will seek to continue over the course of the next financial year and beyond. I will now hand over to Councillor Smith to set out in more detail how our plans will achieve that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Wootton. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, I'm proud to present our administration's medium-term financial strategy to you tonight. We're putting forward a responsible, sustainable budget that will help our local community to recover and will protect and support our residents while ensuring essential services continue to be delivered. It amounts to 146 pages of hard work and is a balanced budget that the council is legally obliged to set. The precise details, the figures, the amounts and percentages being clearly set out in the report. This budget has been prepared during a period of unprecedented change due to the impact of COVID-19. 2021 was immensely difficult, and in 21-22 this will continue with many compounded issues. But this budget has plans for the future, and we're able to do this because we have the financial stability to do so. But I must dwell for a moment on what is still the current financial year. And I don't wish to steal any words from the work of my fellow portfolio holders, but the bins have still been full each week and they've been emptied. And in the last week, when there was hazardous ice on the ground, the crews were not idle, they were gritting at vaccination centres. The grass has grown and it's been cut. Housing officers have been dealing with crisis situations and providing essential support. The leisure centres, when allowed, have been open, and the council has provided us a support package to Fusion that's helped to protect up to 150 jobs. We've also been providing support for businesses with over £20 million handed out to at least 2,000 businesses and organisations, and around another £1.5 million still to go. Through a combination of prudent financial management and some additional one-off support from government, we are projecting to contain our cost pressures within the available resources this year, which is a significant achievement in the current climate. And yet again, we remain a debt-free council. Yes, debt-free, something we should all be immensely proud of. Our medium-term projections anticipate a significant decrease in overall funding for the council over the next 5 years, which alongside growth in demand for services and inflationary increases is expected to lead to a budget gap of around 2 million by 2025-26. The overall cost pressures on our budget in 21-22 alone total over 1.2 million. The council has worked hard to identify cost reductions, efficiency savings and additional income to bring this service expenditure down to just over £400,000. However, there remains a gap to bridge, which we propose should be partly met through a 2.1% increase in council tax, 2.1% increase in council tax, which equates to £5. But not £5 a week, not £5 a month, but yes, just £5 a year, less than 10 pence a week for a Band D property. We must not lose sight of the fact that the council is a business. We have costs. We have wages and wage increases to pay to our hard-working staff. We do have some income lines that have been impacted, and we do need to make some modest increases after periodic reviews. Our car park charges do need to be increased. This is for the first time in 5 years. But we won't be increasing the ever popular 1 hour tariff. We will still maintain free car parking on Saturday afternoons and on Sundays and on bank holidays. As we look forward, the budget provides for a community safety initiative of £100,000 to help finance investments in safety measures across the district. The responses we received to our recent budget survey showed that residents said community safety was of particular importance to them. The residents ask and we deliver. We have a wide-ranging business support plan, which the leader can give further details. We have significant investment in renewing council assets and providing first-class facilities for our residents. The replacement of the currently tired and underused civic building, the Mill Hall, is a great example. The projects as a whole should ensure that we avoid cost liabilities of around £250,000 per annum. We have the Connect project that will allow for more flexible and efficient working of staff, so saving residents money and providing better services. Then on the horizon, we have some major contracts coming up for renewal, in particular waste collection. Although the pressures on our revenue budget remain significant, through capital receipts and surplus assets received in 2021, we're pleased to be able to invest these monies back into our district. This includes a new town centre regeneration fund of £50,000 to fund public space improvements, which will attract visitors back into our town centres once it is safe to do so. For a third year, we have our investment in our programme of new playground equipment, which will see new equipment for a play space in every ward across the district. We also have resurfacing of car parks and investment in modern ticketing machines that can allow for easy card payments. We're not a council that's standing still. Members, I do appreciate that some aspects of the report are not exactly dynamic reading. And Appendix 3, the 2021-22 Capital and Treasury Management Strategy included, is perhaps an example. The report has been reviewed at the review committee and is recommended to full council for approval tonight. But what it does go to show is the depth, the detail, the hard work and consideration that goes into all aspects of the paper you have before you tonight. The experiences of the last year highlight the importance of holding reasonable levels of reserves to support us through times of unexpected cost pressures. The council's total level of earmarked reserves remains at levels comparable to similar local authorities and are not considered excessive, particularly given the climate of financial uncertainty that is faced over the medium term. It's proposed that the 2021-22 New Homes Bonus Grant payment is transferred to our investment reserve to fund capital investment in the district, pending confirmation of a replacement scheme related to housing growth. The council continues to maintain a general fund balance of around 1 million or 10% of its net revenue budget, which is prudent to maintain as a contingency for emergencies. It can't go without mention that what I've presented before you tonight would not have been remotely possible without the hard work and dedication of our officers. I would like to sincerely thank them for that. We must not forget that despite the appearance of business as normal, they've not been immune to the COVID crisis. They've been subject to illness and isolation, and the requirement to set up and effectively manage business from home. Their work has been excellent, and it is to be commended. Despite the challenges that I've outlined tonight, I'm convinced we remain in a strong position to meet these head on, and our administration will continue to advocate for financial responsibility to ensure the sustainability of the council over the longer term. I therefore commend this medium-term financial strategy to the council and propose the recommendations set out at section 17 of the report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Smith, do you have a seconder?
Chairman, if I may, as leader, I'm absolutely delighted to be able to second all the recommendations tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wootton. Members, I will now open the debate and would ask you to click on the raised hand icon if you wish to speak. I will then invite you by name to unmute your microphone and speak. It is an important item of business that we have before us this evening, and I will ensure that everybody who indicates they wish to speak has the opportunity to do so. However, in line with Council Procedure Rule 15.4, as set out on page 4.11 of the Constitution, I would remind members that speeches should not exceed 5 minutes. Thank you, members. Councillor Mrs. Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The budget this year has been approached in a different vein to previous years. Customarily, Rochford District Council conduct an away day where all councillors are presented with the problems that the officers perceive and put forward possible resolutions. As has been done previously, the minority groups planned an alternative budget. However, mindful of both the current Conservatives leader's statement that he wanted to work with minority groups and aware of the strain that this would create in view of the extra administration created for officers working from home, we withdrew this option and asked to be involved in the administration's budget process as previously. Despite his statement that he wanted to work with other groups, the leader did not take us up on this. The budget away day morphed into a budget briefing of about 30 minutes. Still, if the administration ignore other members, we should be reassured that they survey and engage with residents. Or should we? The council states it is committed to involving residents, businesses and service users in shaping the district and the service they receive. The response to their budget survey was woeful, less than 0.5%. Still, the online engagement of 5,200, nearly 6%, is to be applauded. Or is it? Unfortunately, Rochford District Council have no idea as to where these people live. So they could be responses from Scotland to Scandinavia. Rochford District Council have advised they just don't know. So their commitment to involving residents is both empty and flawed. I question the very statement that there is a shortfall every year. Every year, there's a supposed shortfall, budget on budget, not actuals. Every year, it is closed, and normally the gap left is equivalent to the maximum council tax rise. Is this shortfall caused by central government continuing to starve this local authority of funds? I would like to know tonight if this is the case and if the shortfall has been caused by central government. If it is not caused by central government, then how has it arisen? Residents deserve to know exactly why their council tax is being increased. My main criticism of this budget is that, as in previous years, the administration is focusing on their preferred projects regardless of the cost to residents. In a year when our residents have faced exceptional hardships and the lack of social contact, Rochford District Council have initiated no assistance other than that directed by and paid for by central government. Indeed, when shops are shut and residents furloughed, the council's answer to helping the high streets is to increase car parking charges and put up council tax, despite having received funds from central government, which should have alleviated any loss. So charge our hard-pressed residents another £70,000 car parking to give £50,000 to the high street Regeneration. Couldn't make it up. However, this is the council that spent around £10,000 on a pet cemetery that on the last count still housed only one animal. This is the council that, when the country was reeling from a pandemic, rushed through its first Zoom meeting, not to help residents, no, but to approve a grandiose project of over 3.4 million so far, possibly, and ignored the fact that the pandemic was altering working practices and the social needs that this project was claimed to satisfy were changing dramatically. Indeed, Mill Hall, which they were so eager to demolish, is now used as a vaccination hub. With the requirements for social distancing that are likely to be with us long term, would indicate that a smaller community hub is not advisable. The budget shows 341,000 as an additional income from central government. Is this being used to help hard-pressed residents? No, to be screwed away claiming prudency, and up goes the council tax again. The council collect revenue money, places it away in a capital budget, and then says it is short of revenue. This budget does nothing to help our residents, and I will not be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Mason. Councillor Wootton.
Chairman, thank you for that. And as the initial comments from Councillor Mrs Mason were directed towards me, I would just like to point out some facts. Yes, there has been a change of approach in terms of the budget preparation this year, partly brought about by the situation we find ourselves in and the need to conduct our meetings virtually, but also because traditionally budget away days have been held, all members have been invited, and it has only been the Conservative administration which has actually turned up to those budget away days. So when we got together, I suppose it was about August, September last year, thinking about how we would organise this year's budget, I actually said we would have finance briefings. We've actually had two. The second one, I can't vouch for the first because I don't recall exactly who was there. But Councillor Wilkinson attended, Councillor Ionu and Councillor Connell, despite invitations to all councillors to attend. So if I am being accused of not engaging, I would actually suggest it is the minority parties that do not want to engage with us. It is as simple as that.
Right,
And
I'm going to come back there because the leader is mistaken. He's totally mistaken, Councillor Wootton.
Mrs Mason,
I'm coming back because no, we didn't turn up to the second one.
Chairman, if
we didn't receive the invitation.
Chairman, if I may say, I was invited to reply by your good self and reply, I am.
Well, I'll come back when you've finished.
So
Can you
that
wish
is,
to speak, Mrs. Councillor, Mrs. Mason? Councillor Wootton, I apologise for the interruption. Please carry on.
thank you, Chairman. So that is my understanding on the first facts. If I am mistaken, I'm more than happy to be corrected. But that is certainly my understanding of the position. In terms of the presentation of a budget, yes, I acknowledge that some months ago, the minority parties did indicate that it was not their intention to submit their own version of a budget. That is perfectly correct, but within local government circles, it is for alternative or opposition parties to take the opportunity. If they choose not to, that's absolutely fine. The purpose of the finance briefings was to be able to have a discussion in a shared and convivial environment to be able to deal with those things. Now, turning specifically to a few of the points, I don't think I captured all of them. I know Councillor Mrs. Mason's comments about the increase in council tax and her comments in relation to car parking. The car parking increase will probably not generate any additional income for the authority this year. But every 5 years, I don't think is an unreasonable period of time to actually look at what other authorities are doing around us, consider their car parking charges in their town centres, and see whether we are aligned. And there is never a good time to talk about putting up fees and charges, but we felt that this year an adjustment would be correct. It is an adjustment in tariff, but we've still been mindful of leaving the popular 1 hour rate exactly the same. Furthermore, we have left the all day long rate exactly the same, and that is to ensure that employees who work in our town centres are not disadvantaged with those changes. Over £70,000 is being invested in new car parking machines. Over £100,000 is available for resurfacing projects. So car parking does not come at no cost. We have to manage the infrastructure around car parking. And indeed, we have our car park attendants as well. So there is investment. No one likes putting up charges, but it is the stark reality that, as Councillor Smith mentioned earlier, we are a business and we are in exactly the same way as any business confronted with the same increases that businesses unfortunately face through inflationary and other pressures. I don't think I've possibly addressed all of Councillor Mrs. Mason's points, but I'm certainly happy to be corrected if she tells me that I'm wrong. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Mrs. Rowe.
Can I come back, Mr. Chairman? It's customary, especially when the leaders asked me a question and the leaders made a misstatement. So I'd like to come back before you invite other members, as is the common courtesy.
Are you making a personal statement, Councillor Mrs. Mason?
I'm making a personal statement because there was a personal untruth made by the leader of the council.
Okay, there are other members indicating they wish to speak, but I will allow you to come back this time only. Thank you.
I will just mention the away days. The reason that we could often not attend was because of the high cost of the free meals that we didn't think was correct. But the error that Councillor Wootton's made when he said we did not turn up for the second briefing is incorrect on 2 counts. One, I haven't received council emails since the 7th of December, which the councillors were aware of, and I have asked to be advised of meetings. That meeting was not communicated to me, therefore I didn't have the opportunity to attend. However, when I became aware of it, I asked the acting managing director to provide a briefing, and she did so with the Section 151 officer to the members who were not invited to the original meeting. So I'm afraid that is incorrect. Thank you.
Councillor Mrs. Mason. Councillor Rowe.
Thank you, Chairman. As Deputy Leader of this Council, I too would like to thank the opposition members, Councillors Cannell, Ionu and Wilkinson, for their input and attendance to the financial discussions, of which every member of this council was invited to. And I repeat, every member. Councillor Smith, a question, please. To achieve this budget that has been put in front of us, can you please confirm if there have been any cuts in our services? Thank you.
Councillor Smith, can you respond to that, please?
No, there haven't been any cuts. There are. That's the plain answer that I want to give. There's been no cuts here.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Simon Smith.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Rowe. Councillor Ward.
Thank you very, very much for letting me speak this evening, Chairman. I have to compliment Councillor Smith on the wonderful presentation he has made of the budget. He has been very concise, very precise. But to be honest, I'm very, very pleased that there are members of the opposition who did attend, who did take part. And I'm very disappointed to be spoken to generally in a way which shows that opposition members and one of the main leaders of the opposition has found it impossible to attend through reasons that I don't frankly understand. It is disappointing, I have to say, because over the past years, when we've had the budget away days, every single member has been invited to contribute in various ways. And it's only recently that other members have decided that they have no wish to be part of this council and the process in which this council works. They want to be part of it, but don't want to be part of it. And I think some of the criticisms that have come out of what we have done are totally unwarranted, actually, because they had the opportunity to contribute. They've had a full opportunity and they haven't taken it. Those that did, I absolutely compliment in their ability to show their true councillor colours, in as much as that they wish to partake in the full course of council business. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Efty, do you still wish to speak?
Maybe a little bit later, but I'll see it, because what I was going to say, Councillor Wotton put it over very well.
Sorry, Councillor Sperring, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Just on a more personal note, being someone who is heavily involved in the management of a hospitality venue in Raleigh Town Centre, I've been at the forefront of seeing how these venues have struggled over the last year. But I would like to take this opportunity to thank both portfolio holders and particularly the officers in the way that they have administered the grants that we were entitled to receive. Having made the first application, there was no need, and we were subsequently approved to receive the grant. All subsequent grants have been forthcoming very promptly and at the correct rate. There's only been one further grant that we've had to apply for, which was very straightforward, which was a discretionary grant. And in the midst of all the other problems we had, to know that the money that we were entitled to was being paid out without any problems, any further grant applications, etc., was very rewarding. And I'd like to thank them all on behalf of not only myself, but a lot of other business owners in the towns across the district. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Sperring. Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Chairman. I have attended the various financial briefings we've had this year, and I found them very, very helpful. And I thank the Section 151 officer for the professionalism that she has and the way that she's presented things to the way that someone, an idiot like me, can understand, which takes some doing, I can assure you. This subject, Chairman, is always going to be emotive. It's always going to cause division and feelings and opinion. None of us want to pay any more council tax ourselves. And I also believe there's not a single member here this evening that wants the residents of their respective wards to pay more either. This is not a debate about who wants their residents to pay more in council tax and who doesn't, which I have no doubt is how this is going to be portrayed on social media tomorrow. I'm equally sure that many of you will have shared in my battle of conscience, which I've undergone over the past few months leading up to tonight. Do we ensure the council is financially stable, or do we ensure our residents are financially stable? Although in truth, I would actually ask the question, is it really as simple as that? Do we have a duty to ensure the financial stability of our council? Well, of course we do, for a whole host of reasons. If the council fails, then we fail the residents of this district who rely on its services. We have a duty not to waste public money, not to have to borrow where we don't need to be financially independent where we can be. Equally, we have a duty to our residents at a time when the COVID pandemic has not only affected the financial stability of the council, but the financial stability of the majority of residents and businesses across the district. When income is down, should we really be asking residents to pay more? I personally have lost 6 months' work this year due to COVID, and I'm sure there are many others across this district who find themselves in a similar position. In preparation for tonight's meeting, I read the report from the Section 151 officer, as I'm sure all members did. There were aspects of the report which I simply did not understand, so I've spoken with Naomi about those, and I've obtained the clarification that I needed. There were also aspects of the report which, on a political level, caused me some concern. I took the time, therefore, to pick up the phone and speak at length with the council leader to try and get an understanding about the aim of this budget. I note in the report in Appendix 4, it discusses the budget survey. Albeit there weren't many responses, in very simplistic terms, only 15% of those who were surveyed were in favour of an increase in car parking charge, with 66% against, and only 14% in favour of council tax rise, with 59% against. It therefore takes some balls to go against a survey like that. However, and more importantly, what I did discover on speaking with Councillor Wootton is that this budget is not an attempt by the council to simply replenish its coffers. It isn't an attempt to grab as much money from the public from the public in an almost I'm all right Jack kind of way. What I did discover was that through capital investments which have been included within this budget, the council will not actually gain a single penny in real terms. In fact, it's quite the opposite. There is to be £100,000 of new investment on a match funding basis with parish councils for community safety initiatives. Over £170,000 spent on the new car park infrastructure, and £50,000 for town centre investment. And in addition, more investment into CCTV. Now, I think I'm right in saying, Chairman, that a 2.1% council tax rise accrues £158,000 or thereabouts. That simple maths shows how much more is being invested back into the community by the council as opposed to what is being gained by a council tax rise. If we calculate the capital investment versus the revenue gain from council tax, this means that for every additional £1 of council tax raised next year, the council will invest the equivalent of £2 into community safety projects and other community-based infrastructure. I reached out to the residents in my ward as best that I can under the current circumstances before tonight's meeting to get a flavour of the feeling for a council tax rise. No one said, oh yes please, let's have more council tax. But quite a number of them thought that a small council tax rise was acceptable to keep the council services as they are. Others commented that they thought the council should make savings. Well, we've seen that in the last financial presentation that Naomi gave us, we saw that I think I'm right in saying over £700,000 worth of savings made by the council's leadership team. One lady informed me that she had recently moved into the area last year from Romford in the Havering area, and her council tax here is £33 per month less than she was paying in Romford, and the services she obtains from us are far superior. So, Chairman, for me, this is now a completely different concept to try to resolve. The real question to ask ourselves is this: is it right to ask the residents of Rochford District to pay a little more each month in council tax and ensure there is a decent capital investment in the community safety for our towns? Is it right to ask for an average of an additional 10p per week per household to know that it is going to good use, not just going to balance the books? Well, for me personally, that's a much easier question to answer. I could not, nor would I ever, support a budget which is simply a means of raking money back in because our income has dropped, not at a time when everybody is suffering financially. Equally, I could not support a council tax rise under those circumstances either. However, in my opinion, the council leadership team have done wonders to make the financial savings they have over this past year in spite of COVID and its related pressures. Whilst our car park revenue has fallen to the floor, the council have managed to shorten the gap in the revenues budget against what it was projected to be last year. When I sat through the budget presentation last month, I was honestly impressed by that. Chairman, it is because of those reasons that tonight I will be supporting the administration, and I urge all members to think about the result of voting against raising council tax, the result of voting against this budget. A vote against this budget is a vote against the commitment to financial investment in our communities. It is a vote against financial investment to assist the parish councils to do everything they can to support their communities. A vote against ensuring financial security and a vote against ensuring financial surety to the district's CCTV project. And is that really something you wish to vote for? Because, Chairman, I certainly do not. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Mrs. Belton.
Thank you. I'm not sure I want to follow that. That was a fantastic, some fantastic feedback. Just wanted to make one point. Councillor Sperring has covered a lot of what I was going to say. But regarding the comments about supporting business, yes, the money may have come via government grants, but the administration of those grants needed to be done by council officers. We've administered over 2,500 grant applications during this pandemic and still have more to go. In the last round of funding, we could have gone for a simple option and just supported the exact same businesses we did the last time. But we listened to the feedback from the residents about businesses that really were needing support, such as taxi drivers, such as businesses without premises. And we made a more diverse and versatile set of scheme so that we could support more businesses. So yes, I accept the money may have come from central government. However, the work that's gone into that has happened directly via this council with staff that alternatively would have other work they would normally be doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Belton. Councillor Efty.
Thank you, Chairman. Great feedback we've had so far. Brilliant. I just want to say I'm really pleased to be part of this forward-thinking council who is investing in our town centres by the asset programme, by investing in our car parks. And that's all really I want to say. This is a hard put together budget and nobody wants to charge our residents more money, but sometimes looking for the future, it's just how it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Efty. Councillor Cannell.
Thank you, Chair. I think Councillor Wilkinson, with some of his opening comments, has covered some of my thoughts. But having attended some of those briefings, I would echo the thanks to the officers in preparing those and the detail in those presentations. It's quite illuminating to think about the position we're in. I think even without reading detailed supports, residents can guess the kind of pressures the council would be facing during a national pandemic. It is therefore, apologies, I therefore applaud the officers and the members of the executive involved in bringing forward a balanced budget with those thoughts in mind. I don't wish to go around in circles in who attended what meetings. I don't think it's productive. However, I do have a couple of questions, Chair. I'm not sure where best to place them, so if you wouldn't mind forwarding them where you feel best placed, I would appreciate that. They are regarding page 4.17, 7.26, the Green Gateway Trading Maintenance Company. I just want to, it notes here, obviously they've come back with small profits year on year. So I would like to ask if we are happy with the current performance and also if we're looking at any opportunities to increase revenue from this avenue. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Cannell. Councillor Smith, are you able to respond to that question?
I think the technicalities around the specific operation of Green Gateway may be best answered by Mr. Houghton. I don't think there's anything too political in the nature of the question.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Smith. Mr. Houghton, can you respond to that, please?
I can respond in general terms. I mean, it's really thought, and I don't want to keep passing the buck on, possibly to the directors of the company to answer, but it's probably not the forum to do so. And so I think Craig was correct. So Councillor Connell was correct in saying that he wasn't sure if this was actually the correct forum to sort of seek an answer. But I think that probably the best thing to do is to pass the question on to the directors who can answer in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Houghton. Councillor Connell, can I ask you perhaps to take that point away and obtain a response after this meeting?
Shall do, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. McPherson, do you still wish to speak?
Yes, please, Chairman. Sorry, for once it's me having the technical difficulties tonight. Just a couple of points listening to the debate. First of all, somebody raised the issue of not attending the away days due to the extortionate costs. I actually looked into this a couple of years ago. There are no lunches provided. It was coffee. That was last year. This year, I could see no reason why anybody would not attend these sessions. They were virtual. Everyone could attend, run at zero or no cost. The budget presentations, they are worth attending. You've heard that from a non-Conservative councillors. The sessions are informative, but most of all, they're the opportunity for any member, and I say that, any member, to feed in their ideas for the budget. Now, most people here know me. If I was in the opposition, I certainly wouldn't be quiet. I would attend every single budget to make sure that my voice was heard, that I could represent my residents. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. McPherson. Councillor Hookway.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, I'd like to say that thank you to the officers for their hard work and involvement in preparing the reports and their involvement in the presentation of those reports and the budget. However, I do have one particular question or an issue in relation to the council's ambition in a time of unheralded difficulty for local residents, in that it seems to be its main sort of like ambition was to be a efficient vehicle for the distribution of money from central government in the form of grants. Now, I do have to say that it has been efficient in respect of that, with possibly one exception. In the first round of grants to help businesses, it did have the opportunity, discretionary opportunity, to widen from the very beginning the opportunities of putting those grants to businesses that didn't have a business address and were not on the list of business taxpayers. And so there was an opportunity early on, as other councils decided to do so, to take that opportunity. I do, however, applaud the fact that in the second round of grants that they did listen to residents and also councillors, because I brought this up at a previous meeting, that I hope that in a second round that they would take this into consideration, and it's nice to be listened to, as well as residents will be thankful that the council and officers listen to them as well. And so that obviously is a positive, and I am aware of some people who have started to receive grants from the second round. However, I would hope that going forward, as we do eventually come out of this pandemic and the crisis that it's causing, that the council is going to be a bit more ambitious, a bit more forward thinking, and a little bit more generous with its abilities and its services to help local residents come out of this with as little pain as is practical. Now, it has been stated by the Portfolio for Finance that we should all be very grateful that this is a council that doesn't borrow money. Well, you know, I don't see that there is any requirement to borrow money unless it's for a specific need. But that again also shows a lack of ambition, because in a period where their interest rates are absolutely historic lows, and they have been for a long period of time, there could be, given an appropriate sort of scheme, the opportunity for the council to borrow for something specific. And I think that should not be something that that should be rejected if the council was going to be ambitious in providing or helping our local residents in future. And I think we should be a little bit more forward thinking. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hookway. Councillor Mrs. Belton, would you like to come back with regards to the point raised regards to the business grants?
Yeah. Initially, with the first round of discretionary funding, the ARG1, which I believe is what Councillor Hookway is referring to, we didn't have a large budget, and we had no idea that a bigger new budget was coming shortly after. So we had to be cautious in the businesses that we supported, and took the stance that businesses with premises had bigger overheads and were at bigger risk of failing. And that was indeed the feedback that I was getting from businesses contacting me for support. When the next budget was given to us with actually much more freedom in how we could spend it in terms of timescales as well, at that point we took the instant approach to open it up to others, which included taxi drivers, people working from home, and other businesses that had simply missed out on other grants beforehand. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Belton. Councillor Wootton.
Thank you, Chairman. And in view of comments that were made earlier about engagement, I would like to just publicly say that I really welcome Councillor Hookway's comments. And yes, it is important that all parts of our business sector are as far as possible, reflected in support. But certainly an approach was made to me about black cab taxi drivers who are registered in London that live in the Rochford district, and the executive immediately made a decision that we would support them. But I would like to extend a hand of welcome to Councillor Hookway to engage with Councillors Belton, Councillors Ward, and Assistant Director Marcus Houghton, and myself if necessary, in talking about how we can effectively support businesses. And that is the way I welcome engagement, and I thoroughly look forward to Councillor Hookway being an active part of that as we look at how we might spend that £50,000 that has been set aside deliberately to support businesses in conjunction with the Chamber's authorities as we move out of the pandemic. Unfortunately, we're not an authority that can hand out, thousands, millions of pounds as much as we would like to. That just isn't our responsibility. But we can make a little bit of money stretch a long way, and I invite Councillor Hookway to join us in that mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wootton. Councillor Milne.
Yes, I'd actually like to thank council officers and Councillor Smith and Councillor Wilkinson for his very able analysis of the situation. What I was going to say was that during the pandemic, the council didn't just hand out money, they organised volunteers, they organised all kinds of things, and some of the councillors themselves were volunteers. So for that, we thank them all. And the other thing is that being in a stable financial environment, what are we looking forward to be doing? I'm on the partnership panel, cross-party. Economic regeneration, cross-party. Now, the whole idea of the current executive was to improve cross-party working. And some of the councillors have stepped up to it and been really useful and quite dynamic. The partnership panel working with the Voyage site, there is a complete public consultation going on with that, and it's just gone out. And I keep reading posts about it's all secret. Oh no, it isn't. And the asset delivery program, the planning is still in formation with that. It's still evolving. It's evolving with input from the residents, from the councillors, and cross-party. So that in itself, over 4 years, when you start looking at 2025, is probably going to knock £1 million in costs out by then, because of the prudent planning at the moment. Economic regeneration, this is absolutely vital because we've taken a big hit this year. We have to hit the ground running. So with Danielle, Ian Ward, and other councillors and cross-party working, that money that's coming through, and talking to the chambers of commerce and so on, looking at the e-commercialisation of the high street to try and actually develop it. And we already have award-winning high streets in this district, and we really want to work on that. We don't want to go backwards with it. But at the same time, you're right, we have to look after the average resident as best we can. And certainly the way to do that is to do what we're doing. And I thank you all for that.
Thank you, Councillor Milne. Councillor Mr. Hoy.
Thank you, Chairman. I've made copious notes. I'll probably throw half of them away before I get to the end of it, because I just want to answer a few of the points made as well and to put a couple of points forward. I mean, as always, I've read the budget papers with interest, and as ever, they are well prepared. Congratulations, Naomi, I think. However, well prepared doesn't mean that I agree with the philosophy behind the figures. I don't expect to agree with the administration politically, nor I'm sure would they expect me to, nor do I expect them to convert instantly to my views the moment I speak. It does not mean we are disagreeing purposefully for the sake of it. We do so due to our fundamental beliefs. We may believe each other are wrong, but I hope we do so with this understanding. And I hope you take that as I've written it. So I'm not trying to be contentious. The past year has been difficult, and the forthcoming one will, I feel, be even more so. Hopefully the virus will be behind us, but our community, residents and businesses will be starting to rebuild their lives and financial stability. I know this has been mentioned by Councillor Wootton and other administration members as well. We are in prime position to help in this. In fact, it's in our business plan that we should have these aims at the forefront of our philosophy moving forward. Sadly, I believe that this budget has missed an opportunity to do so. The first paragraph of the executive summary mentions the 5-year MTFS. The peer review of 2019 picked out the MTFS, saying the council should deliver a 5-year MTFS with a multi-year approach to council tax, including headroom to build capacity. In other words, do a broad budget for the next 5 years, not just headlines. Give more detail. This was recognised in the peer review action plan, but appears to have been forgotten again when this MTFS has been prepared. We do not vote on the MTFS, but I feel that yet again this is another opportunity missed for the council's forward planning at a crucial time in our history. The big issue of the year, COVID, is mentioned in the summary, stating the financial impact of COVID-19 has been an evolving picture throughout 2020-21, and this uncertainty will continue into 2021-22. And again, I think Councillor Wootton and others have built on this statement, I would say. However, the financial forecast in the budget for 2021 and the budget for 2022, i.e. the 2020-21 one is a forecast budget based on the beginning of the year and it's now at the end of the year. But they do not reflect any adjustment for what has actually happened in 2021 or what we expect to happen in 2021-22. Sorry about the years. The budgets are presented as though they were in normal times and income and costs were unchanged. Parking income, for instance, is showing in the budget as £1,588,900, exactly £80,000 more than last year's budgeted figure, with no reflection of any reduction due to COVID. I would find it more useful, and I'm sure all members would, if we were prepared a budget based on what we were expecting. The savings we are told about are savings against the budget last year, not what actually happened. I'm aware that this is how we've always been always prepared the budget. I just believe it doesn't help the understanding of our position. At this point, talking about savings, I'm just going to bring in a something mentioned by Councillor Smith and also Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Smith said that there have been no cuts in services, and Councillor Wilkinson quoted, I can't remember who he quoted, but he said there are £700,000 worth of savings in the budget. Now, that may well be so, but can someone please explain, if that we've made £700,000 of savings, why the budget has actually gone up £407,000? It is 4.16% higher than the 2021 budget. Sorry about the years, it get very confusing. That's just an aside. I don't expect someone to have the exact answer to give me exactly the £700,000 plus the 400. I know what the 407 is, it's in the budget, but I don't know where the £700,000 of savings are. Also, I find it odd that our aim to be carbon neutral by 2030 is not even mentioned in the executive summary. In fact, the only mention I found is in the section about the cellar, which aims to be carbon neutral by 2040 with no explanation of why. This should run through our budget and the MTFS as part of our recovery and investment programme. I've asked our acting managing director if all future reports would consider the effect on our carbon neutral objective, and I'm disappointed that this budget does not. As we know, we have pressures in the future with a widening budget gap, and again, I cannot see much in this budget to address that problem, i.e. on the MTFS. I would have thought that we would be looking at merging services and roles with other councils as the only way to save any substantial amount of money, as mentioned by Councillor Wilkinson. The 2.1%, if you take the 2.1% rise in council tax, it doesn't even match a 2% rise in RPI for wages for our staff. Doesn't mean I agree with it, it's just a statement of fact. For instance, a shared monitor officer or 151 officer or whole department such as legal, where the shared function would make possible sensible economies of scale and reduce the need to pay consultants. This could be looked at within the MTFS, and again, I've raised this with the acting manager and director, and hopefully moving forward this will be looked at. Again, I just mentioned that raising the council tax by £158,000, but at the same time we're doing that, we are putting £341,000 of coving grant into a smoothing grant reserve rather than use it in the year it's meant to be used. I've no doubt people will argue with me about why we're doing it and why not. I just don't agree with it, and that's how it is, I'm afraid. I would just like to raise a couple of other points. One about the
Councillor Missor, you've already raised a number of points.
Yeah, how long have I been speaking then, Chairman?
No, I was going to suggest that Naomi Lucas responds to your questions so far.
They weren't particularly questions, they were just statements.
Okay. So you're not expecting a response?
If she wants to respond, or if another member wants to respond, that's absolutely fine, and I'm happy to accept that. But
okay, please carry on then, Councillor.
It's more of a speech than a question thing. I have, just so members are aware, the queries I have had on this budget, I have already asked Naomi Lucas about. I've not left it to this meeting to do so.
Okay, please carry on then, Councillor Lloyd.
Yeah, I haven't got a lot more to say anyway. I just want to speak. I know Councillor McPherson raised the point about the budget briefing or the budget away days. Councillor McPherson became a councillor the same year I did, actually, in 2010. So our knowledge of the council should be broadly the same, I would say. I just feel that the budget away days that we have now are not the same as the budget away days when I first became a member. The budget away days were much more free-flowing, very much done on the basis you could say what you wanted to say, you wouldn't be ridiculed for it, you wouldn't be shouted down or told you're an idiot. To be honest, the last one I did attend was about 3 or 4 years ago, and I came away having broadly been castigated for daring to suggest a few items that we could do. So if you want us to attend, I think perhaps we ought to return to the earlier days of the budget away days, which there are a number of members here. I mean, Councillor Hudson again would very well remember those, as Councillor Mike. There's many councillors here. Councillor Steptoe again would remember those days, and I think they've changed, unfortunately. And I have no problem attending them if they return to the former format. And just so you also know, the last couple I attended, I did pay for my meal, so that was easily possible to do if you asked. I don't really want to take up any more time of the council this evening. I just want to raise two more points I'm going to raise. One is about the budget again. For instance, we've been carrying a salary saving in the budget for unfilled posts of £200,000 for 4 years now. So we're saying every year we've saved £200,000, but it's the same £200,000 surely. This year it rises to 250 with a one-off £50,000 for the managing director role. Are these really savings? Surely if we no longer need these posts, they should be deleted or made redundant and just clean up the budget a bit. I'm just afraid I can't support this budget and will vote against. I do hope next year will be a better year for all of us, regardless, and that we can return to the budget away days, which I've just mentioned from when I first joined the council, with all views being heard and respected, where we can have a budget of the whole council on which we agree. I do remember those days, and I think if we look at the voting record, you might even find I might have voted for some of those budgets. Thank you. That's all I have to say tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Hoy. I take it then that you don't wish to have a response to those points, yes?
I'm happy for a response, but I don't expect a response. This just came up, the 700,000 came up tonight from Councillor Wilkinson. I don't expect a response tonight, but if someone wants to say something about it, I've got no problem.
Okay.
Chairman, can I come back on just a point of clarification then, just regarding that? Is that possible?
Is it quick, Councillor Wilkinson?
It's to do with exactly what Councillor Hoy's just asked. Yes, it's to do with that. Just very, very quickly, so that in case somebody is going to answer, the £700,000 I'm referring to was the figure that Naomi mentioned at the budget presentation, that the savings that have been made by the leadership team. I may have misquoted the figure. That's what I'm referring to, just for clarification. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Wilkinson.
So if I may come back, yes, I do understand where the figure came from then. And also, just for clarity, I did attend a separate budget briefing, which I was unable to attend. I did receive the invite, but I couldn't make the evening. I do understand that Councillor Mrs Mason and Councillor Newport did not receive the invitation at all because of email issues.
Okay. Could I ask Naomi Lucas, please, to respond on some of those points?
Thank you for inviting me to speak, Chair. Yeah, I will just pick up a couple of the points that Councillor Hoy's raised, if that's okay. I think firstly, just to point out that the vacancy factor isn't specifically attributable to particular vacant posts. It's just a recognition that at any point in time, there will always be a certain number of posts vacant. And I think if we fully budget for those every year, we will always deliver a surplus. So it's a recognition that at any point in time, some posts are likely to be vacant, and that's our best estimate of the saving that we would deliver year on year. So it's not a case of kind of not tidying up our budgets as such. So I hope that kind of clarifies that point. The second point around the specific figures in the budget, I would just draw members' attention to paragraphs 7.5, which sets out the key pressures and growth items that the council's been facing this year, alongside the efficiencies and incomes that we've delivered to help offset those pressures. So I would also just point you to paragraph 4.6 of the executive summary, which sets out that there have been budget pressures of over 1.2 million this year, which have been identified. Those are being offset by savings and efficiencies and income of just over £850,000. And I think that figure's just moved on slightly to when we did the budget briefing. And then that leaves obviously a net gap, which, as members have alluded to earlier, we are partly meeting through some small additional funding from government, which is one-off in nature, with the residual gap to be met through council tax. So yeah, the full extent of the pressures is quite extensive, and obviously includes items such as our staffing growth, our contract pressures, and also specific things that we're facing this year as a result of COVID, for example, materials recycling facility income that we get in. The third point I would just like to respond on is one that I think Councillor Hoy might have actually answered in his own statement. He questioned why we haven't adjusted budgets to reflect the impact of COVID this year, but then he also stated that we have put our COVID grant into reserves to help manage those pressures. The reason we have not kind of specifically adjusted individual budget lines for those is because Obviously, it's very difficult to predict the exact nature of those pressures and the extent of those. So to some extent, it would be quite an arbitrary judgment about whether certain lines would be kind of reduced by 5% or 10%. So we've taken the decision that it's prudent to put the additional monies we've got from government in relation to COVID into reserve. And obviously we will draw on those as required to balance the budget over the course of the next financial year. So I hope that kind of provides some clarity on the way, the approach that we've taken to budget setting this year. Thank you.
So if I may come back on that, Chairman, just very, very quickly, on the last point that Naomi Lucas raised, I'm very well aware of the reasoning behind it. I'm just stating I disagree with it. That's all. It's just a different point of view, which is what I was trying to say at the beginning of what I said. We want to have different views on things, but please understand to everybody that we have reasons for those beliefs and we're not doing it on purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hoy. Councillor Newport.
Thank you, Chairman. Do I need to put my hand down? Yeah, I think it goes without saying to thank you to Naomi for all her hard work, but also thank you to other officers, particularly Marcus Houghton and Louisa Moss, who I know have been working very hard on waste collections and homelessness. So I'd just like to say a personal thank you to them. I guess really it's looking at the budget and speaking to residents, as I know other councillors have. It's not just about my own feelings on this budget, but also relaying the feelings of those people that I'm elected to represent. So in 2020, which we know was undoubtedly tough on the finances of the council, it's been very hard on the finances of many residents. And as we begin 2021, we'll unfortunately find many more residents and businesses continue to experience anguish over their own financial uncertainty. And I think this is my main point here, that the way I look at it is, I think Councillor Wilkinson said, do we prioritise the council or the community? And, I may have a different slant on this, but as a local authority, we have that choice, and we can either support the community or ignore them. It's now the time that the council should be doing everything within its power to support those that live, work and invest in the district. The budget doesn't give me that confidence that it's a priority. As our high streets struggle to recover after many, many months of lockdown, different working practices and extra costs and uncertainty due to the pandemic, the council's responded by proposing an increase in parking charges and spending £71,500 on paying display machines. Now, I don't know, looking at the budget, whether that is, my suspicious mind is whether it's to curb the transfer of already paid for parking tickets to increase revenue, or is it that there's a need to replace those parking, the pay and display machines? The £50,000 that's been put in for a town centre regeneration fund, I just don't think it goes far enough. I think our towns are going to need more across 3 towns. I believe that was £50,000. I just don't see where that's going to get us. And I don't think, and you'll know my feelings really on this, is that the work hasn't been done. How can we say £50,000? The work's not been done to establish what's needed, but I do think it's going to be more than 50,000. The support that our businesses have received, other than through the grants by central government, which has already been said by a number of councillors, has been very disappointing. Many businesses have simply been left out in the cold by the government and the council. The discretionary grants, they fail to include many small business owners, and I've heard from many business owners who haven't received a penny from the discretionary grants. A proposed council tax rise this year, whilst many residents' budgets are going to be stretched further by a reduction in working hours and their incomes and redundancies, it's going to be very difficult to support an increase in our council tax. I can accept there's been a downturn in the revenue, But while the council proceeds with asset strategy project and the huge capital expenditure that it brings of over 3.4 million, I simply can't support asking residents to pay more. Just going back to looking at the report, I can only surmise that the budget consultation failed to reach the acceptable number of our residents. The council, as I've said previously in many meetings where we've had consultations, is the council really does need to invest in that area for the future and take account of those results. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you,
Chairman. Point of order, please.
Councillor.
Could I just ask Councillor Newport to clarify a small element of what he said? Was he suggesting that the swapping or exchanging of parking tickets was acceptable, please? Thank you.
Through you, Chairman, if I may, to Councillor Smith. The swapping of these, are you referring to my mention of the £71,500 on pay and display machines, Councillor Smith?
I found.
Oh, are you saying about the swapping, the transferring of tickets between car park users?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking me?
Yes.
I think you know that does occur, and it's done in a friendly manner in our community. And yeah, maybe I think that maybe, where it's, people have paid an hour and there's half an hour left. I don't see that hurts. They've paid for the car parking space.
Chairman, I must just take issue here. The car parking ticket on it says it is clearly not transferable. It clearly says in the terms and conditions that doing so is not allowed and would be subject to a penalty fare. And effectively, the action of exchanging car parking tickets or suggesting that it is acceptable is effectively defrauding the council of a proper income. And I would seek further advice on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith, and thank you, Councillor Newport. Councillor Stanley, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, it's apparent that there is some sort of objections or whatever you like to call it between the minority and the majority that run the council. It's very annoying to hear this in as much as, we're all councillors and we should all be asked and brought together in a friendly manner. It doesn't seem as though it's going down too well tonight. That's to my way of looking at things. And let's talk about the budget, because we're not talking about individuals, we're talking about the budget. And the budget means an awful lot to people out there. I've got residents that have only had 80% of their income from furlough. And some of my residents haven't had any money at all for some time. And here we are putting up the council tax yet again. I do find that's a little bit offish, to be perfectly honest. We've got reserves, so we could perhaps, and this is only my thoughts, is that with having such a big amount in reserves, no matter where they are, it's still money that the residents have paid to the council. Perhaps it could be a bit more lenient towards those people that have lost their jobs as well. How many shops in the high street have lost, are not?
Members, it would appear that we have lost Councillor Stanley.
Yeah, I'm reconnected to you.
We lost you for a moment there, Councillor Stanley. Carry on.
It did. Yes, you're quite right. I'm reconnected now. Yes, as I was saying, there are many shops in the high street that have closed up due to the fact that they can't trade any longer under these conditions. And the people that work there they're no longer got a job, but they've still got to find this tax. You know, we've got to think about our residents who haven't got a job, who have only got one wage coming in, and so on. On another important issue, and it's already been spoken about, the car parking. Again, how many cars are in the car park at the moment? If we was trading, if every shop was open and trading, that car park would be full. At the moment, it's empty. Well, not quite empty, but you get my drift. There's not many in there. So we've got to look at things in the right manner. And I can't say, I haven't got a crystal ball that looks into the future. I don't know when we're going to get back to trading. I don't know how it's going to be. And those of us that can see it, well, you've got a crystal ball and I haven't, because I can't see that at the moment. Everybody's in lockdown, and you know, we've got to hold back and hold our horses, because it's no good whipping the horses into a gallop, because we can't get there. So my view is that the budget is really, I know we had to make a budget. I realise that, and I do understand where we're going, but I do think we could be a little bit more lenient. And there are other aspects in the budget where, and I don't know if Councillor Smith can answer this in the budget, that footpaths. What footpaths are we talking about? Where we're going to spend 15k? Because I don't think 15k is going to be anywhere near what is proposed in the way of footpaths. So, and there are small items. We are now running without any offices. That everyone is working from home. There must be a colossal saving there, absolutely colossal. I don't think the heating's on the Civic Suite. In fact, I don't even think the heating's on the mill, but it might be now because we're using it for COVID. But you know, there must be a colossal saving for this past year. I do appreciate that what the officers have been working with the government guidelines on how much they've got to do. It's something which the government have asked all councils to do. We're not just the only ones. And that's where that comes into line. I'm sure that they have done a colossal job. And I absolutely admire, I put my hands up to them. They are very good at what they're doing, and I think they've done an excellent job. In relation to the person that come out of Romford and said that our council tax is less than what it is at Romford, Romford is actually, well, yeah, in the London area, more so, and so you'd expect higher prices from Romford.
Point of order, Chairman, please. We've gone twice now for two members, well over the 5 minutes.
Yeah, you was well over the 5, or somebody else was well over the 5.
Councillor Stanley.
I'll just finish, Chairman, please. I just want to finish this sentence.
Be very quick then, Councillor Stanley, please. You're nearly coming up to your 5 minutes.
Yes, I'm quite was yes, but I was cut off. Anyway, yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, in relation to the prices of homes in Romford and the prices of homes in Rayleigh are somewhat a lot different. You can get more for your buck, or whatever you're paying for. It will cost you a little bit more. Yeah, as I said, there's several aspects that need to be sorted out.
I'll have to stop you there. You've had your 5 minutes.
Thank you for letting me say a few words. Thank you.
Members, a number of councillors are indicating they wish to speak. They have already spoken. I'm going to allow 3 more speakers, 5 minutes each, and then we'll go to the vote. Councillor Webb, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd welcome this balanced budget, and I'd like to thank officers and Councillor Simon Smith for all their hard work and dedication to get us to this point. This budget has given us much to celebrate, and in particular, I welcome the £100,000 investment in our community safety works for new capital projects, and I look forward to working with town and parish councils on these projects in the year ahead. It should be noted that we will be seeking match funding for this work, which will ensure that this money goes further as well. I'd also like to reflect on the earlier comments that have been made. We remain a debt-free council. We've been able to help over 2,000 of our businesses in the past year. In addition to that, our leisure centres will be open again. Our swimming pool will be there for our residents. Our children will be able to learn to swim, unlike in a number of other districts where their swimming pools have been closed. Ours have remained open. In addition to that, we have a £50,000 investment in our town centres. That is an amazing achievement for a relatively small local authority, and it shows our commitment to local business and to our local town centres. So in summary, I once again want to thank the officers and Councillor Simon Smith for delivering once again a balanced budget, an excellent budget, but also a forward-thinking budget with some new initiatives and some new investment in our capital infrastructure projects. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chairman. Really, I've got some questions for Councillor Smith, really. It's very reassuring that there are no council services that are going to be cut. But my question really is, are we sure that we will have the same levels of service that we'll be able to provide with this budget? My second question really relates to, on page 4.12, there's a table, and we've got the staffing vacancy factor. And this is only a suggestion, it's, you know, you can take it for what it's worth. But if we are always carrying these levels of vacancy, should we just not take them out for the future? My third one actually is for Councillor Wharton, the leader, and I fully support maintaining our infrastructure. The worst thing you can do is not to put money into things and watch them slowly decay over time. But it's a specific question really to car parks that I understand we're going to upgrade them, but I would expect that either to be a spend to save, so in other words, we're going to spend some money that's going to reduce council costs, or that it's going to that it's going to generate some income. And I can't really see how that's going to happen from this. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I think your second question has already been answered by Naomi Lucas, if I'm correct. Perhaps I can ask Councillor Efty to come back in respect of the car parking question.
Thank you, Chairman. Where you're talking about the investment in the new machines? Or you're not talking about the resurfacing? Yeah, so the investment in the new machines, machines at the moment are always breaking down. They don't work, so there's lost income when they're not working. Also, it will, as was mentioned earlier, it should stop ticket transfers. But other than that, we just need to keep, as you said, we need to invest in machinery that actually works and does a good job for our residents.
And it was the resurfacing as well, Councillor Efty.
The resurfacing, well, we need to keep, as you said, we need to keep our infrastructure modern and usable. We don't want people in there damaging their cars. We need to, I think it's a rolling plan of resurfacing. We do car parks every so many years to just make sure they're up to standard, which is acceptable for all users. So I don't really think there's a money-making scheme in that. That's just for infrastructure, the resurfacing.
Thank you,
Chairman. Sorry, if I may, the first part of my question was for Councillor Smith, which was that we're not getting rid of any services, but will we maintain the same level?
I've not forgotten that question, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Smith, would you respond to that, please?
Yes, we absolutely do believe that our service levels will not be reduced in any form, and the budget provides us with the flexibility through our financial management to be able to adjust service levels to demand as appropriate. And just building on the reply that was given with regard to the vacancy factor, we must fully cost all of the jobs at the start of the year. I won't say it's crystal ball gazing, but we do have to accept that there will be some flux of staff leaving, new staff starting, staff coming and going on different pay rates, maternities, the time it takes to recruit new staff, periods of notice and so on. So it is right that we do attempt to quantify that. We've quantified it at the same sort of level most years, but it is a movable feast, and I do believe it is appropriate that it's in there each year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a point of order?
So if you wish, Councillor Mrs. Mason.
Thank you. On, I believe, 3 occasions now, members have raised questions, and you as the chair have directed them to administration members to answer. The rules of debate state quite clearly that should not happen. And I'd ask you not to do that again. Thank you.
Councillor Mrs. Mason, direct questions to whoever I think is best to give the...
I'm sorry, the rules of debate, you need to look up the Constitution, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to be as polite as I can in the circumstances, but in each occasion, in one occasion when you disallowed me to come back, but then you allowed Councillor Wotton to speak over me. You've gone back to him on occasion. You directed an opposition. This is meant to be a members' debate, and you said quite clearly you would allow members to speak once, but you're not. You're choosing people who you want to speak. And I'm sorry, the Constitution doesn't allow that. So it is a point of order. I don't want anything to happen. I just want it noted and perhaps not repeated.
Councillor Mrs. Mason, as I said at the beginning, I allow people to speak in the order they wish to speak.
And you said you would allow each person to speak once, and you haven't. You've been directing questions to the administration. But I'm sorry, this isn't a debate. It is a point of order, and I'd like it looked in. And I accept that obviously you're not accepting what I'm saying, so perhaps you can look at it after the meeting. I don't want to be unpleasant about this. I'm just trying to point out that that is not the normal way of a debate, and I'm sure the officers can help you with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Mason. But if questions are asked of certain members, they're entitled to give a response. I shall leave it there. The last speaker.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, but you didn't allow me to respond when untrue allegations were made about me. So I think I'm not happy with the fairness of the situation, and I'm trying not to say anymore, but I don't want that. This is a debate about the budget, and I'd rather we stayed with the debate about the budget. I'm just pointing out that
I agree.
Other members is not correct.
Council,
excuse me, sorry, Chairman, I can't. That's a point of clarification. I can't let this go. But Councillor Mrs. Mason was the first to speak. She spoke. We was all quiet when she spoke. Councillor Wotton was brought in to answer her questions, and she interrupted him. He did not interrupt her. So I'm sorry, but that's a clarification. That is wrong.
Yes, but I wasn't allowed to come back. This isn't the...
Councillor Mrs. Mason, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much. I'm going to allow one more member to speak, and that will be Councillor Williams. After that, we shall go to the vote. Councillor Williams.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much. Most interesting debate so far. And I think a very, very successful budget, if I'm honest. Recently, I've been, along with other councillors, I've been volunteering at a local surgery, helping marshalling for the COVID vaccinations. I've met many of our residents. I'm talking in the hundreds here. I've spoken to many of them. Very interesting, and it's been a privilege to speak to them. I have not had one complaint about the services that we have supplied so far. In fact, we have not just met the demands put on our services, we have surpassed them many times. I would just like to say thank you very much. I would like to put this on record that I'd like to thank all of our contractors, the contractor staff, our ADs, the executives of this council, and all members of this council. Thank you very much. And it's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to be part of the administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Members, as I said before, that's the last member to speak.
May I sum up, Chairman?
Sorry?
May I sum up prior to the vote?
Of course. Sorry, Councillor Simon Smith. Please sum up.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to thank members for the full and wide-ranging debate that we've had. I think we've had a number of statements made, and as I think Councillor Hoy said, there are some aspects to the budget that people agree with, some aspects that they don't. But this administration has put forward a balanced budget that we are obliged to do so. It is a budget that is forward thinking and shows initiative and innovation. Our community safety initiative, with the potential for investment in CCTV being a prime example of that. We've had many thanks go to be put forward towards our officers, and as mentioned, I do reiterate that. But please, members, remember that this is a Conservative administration, and this Conservative administration is putting forward the budget that is before you tonight. I think that we have had a number of questions that have been answered. One point that was made was that residents needed to be consulted more. Well, the figure that was mentioned of 5,200 views of the YouTube clip, although I think Councillor Mason suggested some of them might have come from Scandinavia, I think is a tremendous figure regardless. And sometimes when people listen but then choose not to comment, it does indicate a degree of satisfaction or acceptance with what is being proposed. As Councillor Wilkinson mentioned, you won't find many people that will just straightforward come out and say, yes, I want the council tax to be raised. Yes, I want car parking charges to be raised. But when you explain that the council tax is going up to provide a good level of service, that you remind people that car parking charges have not been raised for 5 years, and we are doing what we can within that charging structure, such as the all-day charge and the 1 hour charge, to maintain a degree of stability, the majority of people do accept. So, Chairman, I am more than happy with the proposal that we have put forward tonight, given the challenge of the circumstances that we found ourselves in last year and the challenge of the circumstances, not of our doing, that we will face next year. I believe that our financial administration has put us in a position to put forward a budget which is as acceptable as can be given the circumstances. And in fact, I think it's something that we should be proud of. So thank you very much, Chairman, and I'm happy to go to the vote.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Members, we have 13 recommendations moved by Councillor Smith and seconded by Councillor Wootton, as set out at paragraph 17.1 on pages 4.27 and 4.28 of the report. Recommendations 4, 9, 10, 11 and 13 are for noting. Are these noted, members? I will assume your agreement unless you raise your raised hand icon.
Noted.
Mrs. Christine Mason, is this you?
You're on mute. Rob, Council Chairman, you're on mute, sorry.
Can't hear a word you're saying, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Stanley. Members, recommendation 6 relating to... Councillor Mrs. Mason, you wish to speak?
Yes, sorry, Mr. Chairman, but could you read those numbers out again that you were asking to be noted?
I can. They're recommendations 4, 9, 10, 11 and 13, and they've all been noted.
Well, they weren't, because I raised my hand and you didn't come to me. You didn't ask me why. You said raise your hand if you didn't want them noted. I raised my hand and surprise, surprise, I was ignored. Mr. Chairman, I've got no problem with 4. Well, I have a problem with 4, but number 10, I would like it noted that it says we want to note it is robust. I object to the word robust, and therefore I would note like my objection to that noted. But no problem with the report being noted, but to say that it's robust is subjective and not what the report noting should be about. Noting should be objective, not subjective. So I'm afraid I have to disagree with item 10.
Councillor Mrs Mason, that will be noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Members, recommendation 6 relating to a proposed increase in council tax must be determined by a recorded vote. I would suggest that we take the recorded vote on this now. When I call your name, can you please indicate whether you are voting for or against the motion, or if you wish to abstain? Councillor Mrs Bolton.
For the motion, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burton.
For.
Councillor Mrs Butcher.
For the motion, thank you.
Councillor Connell.
For the motion, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor and Mr Carter.
For the motion, Chairman.
Councillor Mrs Carter.
Thank you, Chair. Are we recording at all, please?
Recorded. This is a recorded vote, yes?
Yes, thank you. It wasn't clear at the beginning. Yes, I like a recorded vote. I do not support this budget and I am against.
What is your vote, Councillor Mrs Carter? Myself, for. Councillor Efty.
For the motion, thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Eaves.
Abstain.
Councillor Mrs Gooding.
For the motion, thank you, Chair.
Councillor Hazelwood.
For the motion.
Councillor Hookway.
Against, Chairman.
What was your vote, Councillor Hookway?
I'm voting against, Chairman.
Councillor Hoy.
Against, Chairman.
Councillor Hudson.
For the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Ionu.
For the motion.
Councillor Lucas Gill.
For the motion, Chairman.
Councillor Mrs Lumley.
For.
Councillor Mrs Mason.
Against the motion.
Councillor Mrs McPherson.
For the motion, thank you, Chair.
Councillor Merrick.
For.
Councillor Milne.
For the motion, Chairman.
Councillor Newport.
Against.
Councillor Pavlin.
For the motion, thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Mrs Rowe.
Thank you, Chairman. For.
Councillor Mrs Shaw.
Thank you, Chairman. For the motion.
Councillor Mr Shaw.
For the motion.
Councillor Smith.
For.
Councillor Sperring.
For.
Councillor Stanley.
Against.
Councillor Steptoe.
For.
Councillor Ward.
For.
Councillor Webb.
For.
Councillor Mrs Weston.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Wilkinson.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. For.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Against, Chairman.
And Councillor Wootton.
For, Chairman.
Thank you, members. Councillor Eaves, can you clarify the way you wish to vote, please?
Abstain. Thank you.
Against, thank you.
No. Abstain.
Sorry, abstain, yes?
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Eaves. Members, that has been passed. There were 29 for, 7 against and 1 abstention. 27 votes in all. Thank you.
37 surely.
Chairman, 37, I think that should be.
37.
Thank you.
37, my apologies.
Chairman, you're on mute again.
Members, we are now left with recommendations 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8 and 12. Are you happy for these to be voted all together? I will assume your agreement unless anyone clicks on the raised hand icon.
Councillor Hall and Regeneration. We do them in turn.
If I may, Chairman, there are some which are a matter of fact. So 5, for instance, is a matter of fact. I'm sure the calculations are correct, but I don't agree with other ones. It's just the way it is.
Councillor, that wasn't past that vote, so we will take your recommendations individually.
Councillor Gray. Councillor Mason, I'll just put her hand down again, is she? Oh, my computer's gone. What? Mine's gone to sleep. Shouldn't have. Oh, it's time for sleep.
Members, I shall now take recommendation 1.
Thank you.
That the net revenue budget requirement be set at 7.722 million for 2021/22 as per paragraph 7.20. If anybody wishes to have a recorded vote, would they please indicate by their raised hand icon?
Yeah.
There will not be a recorded vote, members. Could I ask those who wish to vote for recommendation?
Yeah, go on.
Can I ask those who wish to vote for recommendation 1 to indicate by their raised hand icon, please?
Chair, it's Councillor Laureen Shaw. I can't raise the hand, but I'm for. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Laureen Shaw. We will note that.
Chairman, Councillor Giorgiano, I can't access the raised hand either, but I would like to vote for.
Thank you, Councillor Ionu. We will note that.
Councillor Carter, Chairman, I can't get raised hand and I'd vote for.
Thank you, Councillor Mr. Carter.
I believe Councillor Hazelwood has also got a raised a physical hand, Chairman.
Who was that, Councillor Ward?
It's Councillor Hazelwood.
Councillor Hazelwood. Councillor Hazelwood, can you raise your hand? Okay. Thank you, Councillor Ward. Yes.
And his councillor, yes. So I'm just looking to see if we've got left. We've got. Hold on. There's Stanley. I'm just making a note of those that haven't, and that's Stanley.
Members, could you now lower your raised hands, please? And those members who wish to... Okay. Can those members who wish to vote against indicate by raised hand, please?
We've got Holly Newport, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm Stanley. Yeah, that's done. So it's 6.
If you could, members, if you could lower your raised hand now, please.
Mr. Chairman, Councillor Mrs. Carter, her connection's dropped. She's going to be on the phone, so perhaps someone could ask her on the phone.
I thought she was in there.
Her connection's dropped, apparently.
I've just come back in, but I can't actually put my hand up. Nothing on this side of things is happening, I'm afraid. So I've been trying to get hold of somebody there to speak to. My hand's not going up on any of the voting, I'm afraid.
Councillor Mrs. Carter, do you wish to vote against?
Yes, on that one, please. Yeah.
We will note that. Thank you. Members, recommendation 1 has been approved. 30 votes for, 7 against, no abstentions.
Right, Councillor Gray,
Yeah.
can we do the resolution?
Members, in view of the time, I would like to move a motion without notice, according to Council Procedure Rule 14N, to extend this meeting beyond the 2.5 hours for as long as practical in order to complete the business. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that for you, Chairman. Councillor Weston.
Thank you, Councillor Weston. Councillors, if you're not able to use the electronic raised hand, please unmute your microphone and let me know. I will then check you separately. If anybody would like a recorded vote to be taken, please click on the raised hand icon. There will not be a recorded vote. Could I ask everybody in favour to...
Chairman, on a personal statement, could I just point out that I've been on this screen for 2 hours. During the day, I've been on a screen for around 7 hours. I do allow myself breaks after an hour. Yes. I'm quite kind to myself. So this would make 9 hours I've been looking at a screen today. I really could do with a break. I've now got severe headache at the moment, and I am not functioning properly. You might say I never function properly, but I really am struggling at the moment.
Chairman.
Councillor Mr. Hoy, if you allow me to continue, I was just going to announce a break. All right.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
There will not be a recorded vote. Those in favour of the proposition, please indicate by a raised hand icon.
Chairman, Councillor Giorgiano, I'll be in favour of the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Ionu.
Okay, I'm just looking to see. So we've got those that haven't voted are. Let's have a look. You've got right. Can you ask Councillor Hazelwood if he's in favour?
Councillor Hazelwood, can we have your vote, please? Councillor Hazelwood, can you hear me?
Okay.
My speaker's going on and off. Sorry.
Are you voting in favour, Councillor Hazelwood?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure what's happening with the screen. It keeps flashing and it's making me feel disorientated. I'm not sure what's happening.
Councillor Mrs Mason, there's no flash in this end that I can see.
It keeps changing from one screen to the other.
I think it must be your end then, Councillor Mrs Mason.
No, I'm getting exactly the same as well.
Chair, might I make a suggestion? When someone raises their hand, it changes the order of the video boxes. So if people make their screens smaller, if the video boxes are disturbing them.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you.
Could you please now put your hand icon down, please, members?
Okay, and then those that are voting against it.
Members, those wishing to vote against the motion, please indicate by raised hand icon. Members, if you could put your raised hand icon down, please. And those that wish to abstain. I keep getting.
I'm really not. All I'm doing is clicking on the raised hand icons. Okay, that is approved. And how long will the comfort break?
Members, that motion has been approved.
Chairman, you went on to speak.
Members, that motion has been passed and I shall adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes for a comfort break. Please come back to us in 5 minutes. Thank you.
So can someone advise me what's happening? Because I was actually kicked out for some reason. I've got back in, but I don't know what happened with the last vote or what's happened.
Councillor Mrs Mason, the vote was agreed. We're currently in recess for 5 minutes for a comfort break. I'm waiting for everybody else to come back so we can restart the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr Chairman. I didn't manage to vote on the last vote. I assumed you realised that I wasn't there.
Thank you.
So is it item 3 next?
I shall announce that once everybody's back, Councillor Mrs Mason.
Thank you for the help.
But then we can take, then we can do 5, 6.
Yeah. Members, thank you for coming back. I think we're still waiting for 1 or 2 members, but I shall make a start. Members, in view of the time, I seek your agreement to take recommendations 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, 7 and 12 in their entirety in one block. I shall read them out. You've all got them on your agenda, but I shall read them out. Item recommendation 12 is that the capital programme for 2021-22 set out at section 9 and the proposed methods of financing and capital expenditure be approved. Recommendation 3 is that the Assistant Director Resources be authorised to adjust capital project budgets in 2021/22 after the 2020/21 accounts are closed and the amounts of slippage and budget carry forward required are confirmed. 5, that the 2021/22 Band D equivalent tax base for the purpose of determining the council tax charge be agreed as 32,051.9 properties. Recommendation 7, that the schedule of fees and charges for 2021/22 set out in Appendix 2 be approved. And recommendation 12 is that the Capital and Treasury Management Strategy for 2021/22 as set out in Appendix 3, including the 2021/22 prudential indicators, be agreed. Members, if you agree to take them on block, would you please indicate by the raised hand icon?
Chairman, I would like to take it on block. Councillor Georgiou.
And Councillor Hookway, if they're happy to do that.
Councillor Hazelwood and Hookway, can I have your votes, please?
Abstain, Chairman.
Agree.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
So,
Abstain, Chairman. Councillor Stanley.
vote on these on block now. You asked them to click on.
Members, thank you for your votes. We will take those items on block.
Mr. Chairman, as a point of order, I didn't have my hand up because I had my hand up earlier because I wanted to advise you that Councillor Michael Hoy has had to leave because he's had trouble with his eyes due to the screen time, so he's had to leave the meeting. So then when it flashed, I took my hand down because I don't agree to it going on block.
Okay, but that has been passed, Councillor Mrs. Mason.
Then if we're unfortunately, I want to vote different ways on different things. So if you're denying me that, then I'm going to leave the meeting because I'm just fed up with the lack of democracy.
Okay.
It shouldn't be a majority to take something on block. It should be unanimous. But if you're saying it's a majority, then why didn't you do it in the first place? I really can't understand the inconsistencies here. I was going to ask you to take number 12 separately.
Point of order, Chairman.
Councillor Drake, can you mute yourself?
Point of order, Chairman.
Recommendation 2.
She's right because she's the one.
and vote on each individual.
Councillor Mrs Mason.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I've established that there was a timing issue with regards to the raising of your hand, and we will now take the votes individually.
Point of order, Chairman.
Point of order, Chairman. If she's going to, I'm happy to do item 12 separately. If we can do all the others en bloc. There's only one she wants to do separately.
Oh, I think in fairness, it would be better to take them separately. It saves the confusion. It's very difficult because I'll explain the problem. I had my hand up, which was ignored to advise of Councillor Hoy's having to leave the meeting. That then, because we were asked to put our hands up, it just flashes everywhere, and I just can't move the cursor quick enough. So it's really disorientating, and it's very difficult to cope with this, to be honest. Exceptionally difficult, but obviously they've changed the raised hands mechanism and it causes a problem. I know Councillor Cannell's explained why. It doesn't make it easier.
Councillor Mrs Mason, we will now take recommendation number 2.
Okay, thank you.
That is that the capital programme for 2021/22 set out at section 9 and the proposed methods of financing the capital expenditure be approved.
Yeah, but point of order, Chairman, it's Councillor Laurie Shaw. In the Constitution, it says the votes can be done by majority.
I'm being advised differently, Councillor Mrs Shaw.
Oh, I'm just reading the Constitution. That's for 4.15. Thank you. 17.1. Page 4.15, 17.1.
Members, we will be taking the recommendations separately. I've read out recommendation 2. Those members who wish to have a recorded vote for recommendation 2, would they please indicate by raising their raised hand icon, please?
Chairman, I would like no recorded vote.
Thank you, Councillor Ionu.
Okay, so we will no recorded vote, Chairman.
There's no recorded vote. Members, there'll be no recorded vote. Could I ask those, please, then, for members who are in favour of the recommendation to raise their hand icon, please?
Chairman, I would like to, in favour of the vote, Councillor Giorgiano.
Thank you, Councillor Ionu.
So I'm just going to.
Councillor Hazelwood is raising a physical hand, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Hazelwood.
So I'm just looking to see, we've got.
That's all I can do because my raised hand won't work. Hence, I'm putting my hand up like that.
Thank you, Councillor Hazelwood. We've noted your vote.
So the horrid version that they're not.
Members, if you could put your raised hand icon down, please. And if I could ask those members who vote against the recommendation to raise their hand icon, please.
If they want to take down their
Members, if you could take down your raised hand icon, please. And those members wishing to abstain indicate, please. Members, that recommendation has been passed. 27 votes for, 5 against and 1 abstentions. Thank you very much. Members, I now take recommendation 3 that the Assistant Director Resources be authorised to adjust capital project budgets in 2021/22 after the 2020/21 accounts are closed and the amounts of slippage and budget carry forward required are confirmed. Would those please who wish a recorded vote please indicate by a raised hand icon?
Chairman, I don't want to raise a recorded vote. Councillor George Wano.
Thank you.
No recorded vote, Chairman.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Members, there will be no recorded vote. Please, those who wish to vote for the recommendation, please indicate now, please.
Chairman, I would like to vote for Councillor George Wano.
Councillor Hazelwood has his hand raised.
It's just to record my vote because I can't raise the hand, that's all.
Thank you, Councillor Hazelwood. We note your vote.
They can put their hands back down.
Members, if you could put your hands down, please, and those indicating they wish to vote against the
No, they need to wait, please.
Sorry?
Need to wait.
If you could lower your hands, please, members.
There you go. Okay.
Those who wish to vote against the recommendation, please indicate.
Chairman, we've got two councillors who are not on the council at the moment. That's Craig Cannell and Tony Carter. They're trying to get back in.
Okay, that's done. We're just waiting for Craig.
Councillor Cannell, do you wish to vote for or against recommendation 3?
Thank you for coming to me, Chair. Abstain from item 3, thank you.
Abstain, yes.
Against 1 abstention. Yeah, because Tony Carter's not on. There's a message from Shelley. You're being heavily criticised for not stepping in.
Recommendation 3 has been approved. 27 for, 5 against, 1 abstention. Thank you. Members, we shall now take recommendation 5 that the 2021/22 Band D equivalent tax base for the purpose of determining the council tax charge be agreed as 32,051.9 properties. Those wishing to have a recorded vote, please indicate. Members, there'll be no recorded vote. Those who wish to vote for, please indicate.
Chairman, Councillor George Ioane, I'd like to vote for the motion.
Councillor Hazelwood has raised his hand, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Hazelwood, can you put a thumbs up for a vote yes? Thank you. Members, if you could take your hands down now, please. Those wishing to vote against, please indicate.
Oh, wait. Chairman, you do need to wait for all the hands to go down, please. Right, okay, hold on. There, who's that? Right, okay, so
Thank you, members. If you could lower your hands, and those people who wish to abstain, please indicate. Members, that's been passed. 34, 2 against and 1 abstentions. Thank you, members. Members, you shall now take item 7, recommendation 7, that the schedule of fees and charges for 2021/22 set out in Appendix 2 be approved. Those wish to have a recorded vote, please indicate. Members, there will not be a recorded vote. Those members wishing to vote for the recommendation, please indicate.
Chairman, Councillor George Warren, I'd like to vote for the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Ione. Councillor Hazelwood, can you put a thumbs up, please, if you wish to vote for? Thank you, Councillor Hazelwood.
Researchers looked at the characteristics of patients who were hospitalised they use Hugo with predictive risk model. It weights the significant factors like age, deprivation, ethnicity, lifestyle factors like weight, as well as existing health conditions and medications to determine each individual's risk. Then we combine them somebody who has a number of quite low level conditions that each on their own will affect your risk. There could be a problem. Absolutely, this is why we're previously looked at asthma. Here, I think we've got asthma as well as what is the those who are existing race and high risk.
Members, if you could lower your raised hand icon. Thank you. Members, those wishing to vote against recommendation 7, please indicate.
Oh, okay. One, two, three, four, 5. Right, okay. If they'd like to take their hands down.
Any left? Members, if you could put your hands down, please.
To abstain.
Members, those wishing to abstain, please indicate.
Okay.
Members, that recommendation has been passed. 27 votes for, 6 against and 1 abstention. Members, I shall now take a recommendation 8, which is that the target general balance as at the 1st of April 2021 be set at £1 million. Those wishing to have a recorded vote, please indicate.
Chairman, excuse me, I've got an issue at home. I have to leave the meeting, if you don't mind. It's Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Thank you for letting me know. Best of luck with your issue.
So,
Members, there's been no recorded vote. Those wishing to vote for the recommendation, please indicate.
Chairman, Councillor George Warner, I'd like to vote for the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Hazelwood. Your vote's been noted.
Chairman, Councillor Stanley speaking. My internet keeps on dropping out, so I'm going to have to leave the meeting at the moment.
where's Canal?
Thank you, Councillor Stanley.
He's voted.
Members, please lower your hands if you'd be so kind. Members, those wishing to vote against the recommendation, please indicate. Members, if you could lower your hand icon, please. And those members wishing to abstain, please indicate. Members, that recommendation has been agreed. 28 votes for, none against and 4 abstentions. Members, we shall now take recommendation 12, that the Capital and Treasury Management Strategy for 2021/22 as set out in Appendix 3, including the 2021/22 prudential indicators, be agreed. Those wishing to have a recorded vote, please indicate. Members, there will be no recorded vote. Please indicate if you wish to vote in favour for the recommendation, please.
Chairman, Councillor George Warren would like to vote in favour of the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Ionu. Councillor Hazelwood, thank you for your thumbs up. Thank you. Members, if you could lower your hands for me, please.
So we're only looking out for hook wire news.
Members, if those wishing to vote against the recommendation, please indicate.
One.
Chairman, your hand is up. Was that meant?
Members, those members wishing to abstain, please indicate. Members, that recommendation has been passed. 30 votes for, none against and 1 abstention. Members, that completes the business of the council. Thank you for your patience and forbearing, and I close the meeting at 22:15. Thank you.
Good
night, Chairman. Good night.
Chairman.
Chairman, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone's contribution.
Cool.